Hello again, book lovers. The Darkening Age by Nixey. And this is a reread for me, so there's your recommendation already. And luckily for Nixey, I'd lost my original copy and had to buy it again, so that's two sales. Why did I buy it again? Because I remembered enjoying it, and also some more background reading for this slice of human history that I'm so interested in. Why is it so interesting? Because it's the story of how Christianity became the dominant religion in the later Roman Empire. The prologue is set in Palmyra around AD 385 and details the attack by some Christians on a temple of Athene, and begins with an introduction called an ending, which is set in Athens in AD 532, before plunging into chapter 1 proper with the story of St. Anthony. And one of the interesting things about this book is that a lot of these named figures, St. Anthony, Cyril, Basil, Augustine, so venerated by the Catholic Church later, turn out to have been a right bunch of miscreants, celebrated for persecuting pagans and smashing statues. After that smashing start, the book then focuses on various aspects of how Christianity took over. The burgeoning view of hell and purgatory, the idea that there's only one way of seeing the world now and you have to comply to that. The stories of the early martyrs, which horrified people into Christianity, so the legend goes. The attempts to completely smash and destroy a lot of the great architecture of pre-Christian times, most notably the Temple of Serapis in Alexandria. The idea of possession by demons, and the gradual pervasive influence of this then new idea, which was the strepitus mundi of its day, the clamour of the world, and how that led us to believe that killing people or torturing them to death was in fact for their own good. It's an interesting tale of how an ideology can sweep over a territory. It's full of interesting anecdotes, and it takes us back into those times when Christianity wasn't established, but the old religions were kind of still hanging on. There were terrifying Mithraic rites in temples and homage paid to all kinds of gods from all different kinds of cultures. In those early days, we're told it was not uncommon to find people going to church to pray and then go and get wildly drunk at some Roman bacchanal. When people's gravestones could bear Christian and pagan symbols together. When lots of false Christs appear, looming out of the desert. When scepticism about Christianity was still permitted and rife. One pagan, on being invited to a Christian shrine to pray to the new Christian god, remarked, "Can he not hear us from here?" But it's the same time when Publius Claudius Pulcher ignored the chicken's entrails and lost the battle as a consequence, and everybody believed that. Interesting times as well when we are in the era of diversity being pushed as a strength. Here, the underlying force was unity, as in we will all unite as Christians and enjoy our martyr porn, as I call it. Some of these tales of the sufferings of the martyrs do border on some kind of sadistic pornography. It's a time when the Circumcellions and the Parabolani were wreaking havoc violently on behalf of the new religion of peace, where sacrifice became seen as ever more circumspect and more likely to give you away as a pagan. It's a time of dangerous journeys through the deserts where your slave guard could just as well turn on you and murder you and leave you there. And it's a time when these devils, demons, and the idea of hell and the torments, an infernal safari as it's described here as portrayed in the Apocalypse of Peter. And as we romp through this history, which includes pen pictures of some of the baddies, Basil, Chrysostom, Augustine, etc. Oh, by the way, it's interesting to compare the descriptions of these figures in this book to their Wikipedia entry, just as a good example of the excellent work that their posthumous propagandists did. So I found this a thrilling race through these turbulent times of emperors chopping and changing. Is it Diocletian ruling the roost, or is it Constantius, or is it the apostate Julian who tried to shift things back again but failed? But at the end of the day, it's a history book and we learn a lot of history. both via the main text and via some nice asides and footnotes, of which I am a great fan. I didn't realise Gibbon's history of Rome had been banned by the Catholic Church, for example. And there's the story of what imprimatur means, which you could see on just about every book that was ever published way back when. Two interesting dates stand out. AD 386, what I've written down here in my notes as Islamophobia law, not because that's what it was, but because that's what it reminds me of. The current government in Britain is trying to bring about a law that makes criticism of Islam a crime. Here, exactly the same thing happened, but it was Christianity that you weren't allowed to criticise. That was bolstered 2 years later by a law which said you can't even argue about religion in public. So interesting parallels with our times, and lots of horror, blood and hypocrisy to keep us entertained throughout.